The legal analyst for the James Show, Jeremy Rosenthal, back on the scene here from TexasDefenseFirm.com. Welcome back, Jeremy. I have three stories I want to try and cram into this last segment. Can we go fast here?
Let's go fast. Let's do it. Speed round. Let's go. Do it. Go.
All right, so this week, PETA has been running around a truck on a route to bother meat eaters. They did it at a couple places that sell hams here downtown. They stopped by restaurants with patios, and they end up at the Peppa Pig theme park in North Richland Hills. Doesn't this count as disturbing the peace? Because coming out of the loudspeakers is the sounds of animals screaming and dying and being slaughtered. There's ugly, disturbing pictures on the side, and there's literally the intent, it seems, of disturbing the peace. Is this legal?
Well, it's good advertising for the Peppa the Pig theme park. I didn't know there was one. My daughter loved Peppa the Pig. I wish I'd have known that they. I wish I'd have known that they had that.
Jeremy, focus.
Yes. Focus. We're going speed round. Probably legal. First Amendment. You've got the First Amendment allows you freedom of speech, and if you're disturbing the peace, you've got city ordinances, you've got codes, you've got zones, you've got noise violations, and that is like certain decibel things. It's really hard to violate it. When you talk about these types of things, on occasion you see things. You see pro-life demonstrations where, in some instances, they've got to the pro-life folks might be demonstrating. They might be holding signs. So these things have been litigated. It's got to go pretty far and cross some pretty big lines in order for it to be something criminal. But because it's the First Amendment. Yeah.
Well, that assumes that they're playing the animal noises at a reasonable volume. That's not, interrupting people's meal. But if they're playing, how loud does it have to be? Does it have to cause some business to have customers walk out?
I don't know. That's a great question. We don't deal a lot with noise violations and noise complaints, but each city has their own municipal code, and those municipal codes are they're going to specify, in all likelihood, certain decibel levels, and these come from neighbors that hate each other and blare Bon Jovi at each other, that type of thing, and that's typically where you would see it. But again, it's got to cross the line. If they're staying in the street and playing it really loud, I mean, what's the difference there between there and somebody blasting it at a stop sign, blasting music there? So it's a real.
Well, to the layman, it feels like there's intent. Like if I'm just pulling up and I'm playing my Chapel Roan really loud, I'm not trying to disturb people's meals. I'm not trying to gross them out or horrify them with the sound of dying animals. I'm just having a good time, and I'm just a little too bombastic about it.
I mean, I get that, and they're walking a tightrope. I mean, these are groups that also read the law, and they're also kind of wondering, well, what can we get away with here, and what can we do? For my money, again, I didn't know there was a Peppa the Pig theme park, and now I do. So it's beware.
Well, you're not going to go anyway. All right, next story. I was blown away. WFAA was talking about some new law that is packaged as combating squatters. People are concerned it would affect, regular legal tenants, who are getting screwed around on their lease. But how loose are the laws in squatters? If someone is in my house when I get home, I can't just ask them to leave, and if they don't leave, force them to leave or shoot them? Because, look, I'm not advocating shooting anyone you find in your house, but that was the response. I seriously, I got 6 emails already when I did this a couple segments ago of people saying if they were in that situation, they would just shoot the strangers in their house that didn't leave when they were asked.
Yeah, don't do that. Okay. Landlord-tenant law and property law, you have to remember, James, goes back centuries and centuries and centuries, and it has been as old as time, the rich people and the poor people debating on what your rights are to stay, what your rights are to go, and all of these things. There are 2 chapters of the property code that are really important. It's Chapter 92 and Chapter 94, and those deal with tenancies. The laws are very strict. And yes, they're very slow, but people want to be protected from an aggressive landlord, and landlords obviously need to be protected from nightmare tenants like this. Speeding up deadlines and things like that, if that's sort of the gist of where the law is going, I don't know that a whole lot of folks would have problems with it. If you talk to people who are like justices of the peace or folks like that, they deal a ton with these types of things. And the lawyers who work on those cases represent these big apartment complexes, and they do these evictions by the bushel.
All right, well, let me speed it up here. We're not talking about evictions. We're talking about a squatter, someone who never signed a lease or was a tenant. You just came home and there's people in your house and they won't leave. What do you do about that?
If there's no contract, then the default is the property code. And believe it or not, even if with a squatter will develop some type of tenancy rights just by being on the premises. So unfortunately, that part is true. And then you have the issue of where's the line between a squatter and somebody who just had a handshake lease where, well, that's what you told me. Well, no, it isn't. Well, yes, it is. Well, you're squatting. And so that's sort of that slippery slope. It's pretty rare, James, in these days to have that type of situation. And when it does happen, I mean, we read about it and you have these nightmare scenarios, but a squatter can develop rights.
All right, well, we're out of time. But when I have you on next week, I'm going to ask you about the Collin County DA and his comments on the Austin Metcalf story. We're just kind of out of time for today. But if you have any legal questions, TexasDefenseFirm.com is the website. Thank you very much, Jeremy Rosenthal.
Have a great weekend, James.
All right.